Hello, this is Cryptolyze. I hope you are well. This Thursday, October 5, 2023, it is with pleasure that we meet today to talk about crypto, to talk about AVAX, Avalanche's crypto. As usual, we will dissect it into two parts. A fundamental part where we will come back to what Avalanche is, to its news, and then we will project ourselves in the short, medium, long term on purchase prices, sale prices, and that starts right away. Avalanche is a Tier 1 structural and infrastructure blockchain. The goal is to give developers the means to build decentralized applications on their network, which is Avalanche. So if I said that, it might even be too simple because their vocation and their ideology has always been to be more or less a layer zero. And the problem is they couldn't do it right away, and they're working on it. Keep that in mind. We'll come back to it. The image of Avalanche has changed greatly. Now it is the new image in which we have a site which is really dynamic. We have gone through that which is really revolved around the multiversity of gaming. And historically in 2021, we had something that was a really low-cost industry with a somewhat Ethereum killer image. We defined that these were the fastest smart contracts that existed with a theme of finality that was really very weak. And they compared themselves to what? In Polkadot? Well, Ethereum and Bitcoin, of course, but especially Polkadot. That's why I'm telling you that this idea of layer zero has been present in Avalanche's head for a relatively long time. And that's what we'll see a little later. In terms of the application itself, it is an application that is EVM compatible. So that means that we can build in Solidity and deploy on Avalanche. It's not just that. There are plenty of other languages that are available. We still have a blockchain that is very solid and in which we have subnets that have been launched, which allow us to build a mini Avalanche blockchain. Why mini? No, not necessarily mini, but an Avalanche blockchain, which can be private or directly public. This means that I can have my own infrastructure network and I can interface with Avalanche directly. That was really the first way to be able to build something which is multi-blockchain, implying the beginning of layer zero, and at the moment really a form of ecosystem where there will be a multitude of blockchains, of avalanches which will interface with each other. And it's very practical, especially for institutions or large companies who want to have control over it. And for that, they have made a partnership with AWS to very easily deploy Avalanche validation nodes. So we really have this simplification, which is in the process of being carried out. We still have in the public part a turning point, which was carried out with a desire to try to attract gamification with an investment fund of 50 million for everything that is tokenization of agreement. It's very broad tokenization. It can be tokenization of digital assets through NFTs or tokenization, why not, of a building, okay? So we really have real funds which are there to support the projects, to build on the decentralized blockchain. So, on the other hand, why am I telling you that they have a desire to be truly interoperable and to have this notion of layer zero? Because the subnets in themselves have an interest. That is to say that yes, you can have your own network, be able to build your own society. But the interest is precisely the notion of teleporter between subnets. What does that mean? This means that we can pass messages, soon I think tokens or even more, between the different subnets. So this implies that we will find ourselves in the same principle as Polygon with a machine to create blockchains which are interfaced with each other, okay? It's really this notion, we go from an SDK to a CDK, so software development kit to chain development kit, something which is really very close to the Cosmos Hub, which was the first to actually launch this idea. There we have something that is drifting on it. So I think we should have news soon. So at the level of tokenomics, several things are that, one, it is a tokenomics which is fixed with a max supply of 720 million. We have a burning system which is relatively light, but which is at least present, therefore, which allows us to reduce here the number of AVAX on the max supply, and at the same time on the circulating supply, Supply which continues to increase because we have releases of tokens which are frequent. The next being the 24th of November, where we will have 7% of the circulating supply. So approximately $100 million, which will be released. So we are always careful because it is a token which is in the process of being dilution. But we have a system which allows burning, and we potentially have an ecosystem which will grow with this multi-chain solution, which allows us to be able to create a real ecosystem in its own right in which we only have Avalanche. We have plenty of other blockchains that revolve around it and potentially app chains that will appear later. We are going to finish the fundamental part. We attack the technical part here with the rather classic graph of alone on the previous bull run, in which we have an accumulation phase, first acceleration, with the first phase of the bull run, saturation of Ethereum, we is looking for other blockchains to be able to build decentralized applications. We break Classic and we reaccelerate for the second part of the bull run with a top which was carried out in November 2021, where we have the implementation of a very nice distribution in BC, Arkansas, ST. So, okay, Classic, stop of the upward trend. We retrace. We will retest with the secondary test before sinking and making the sign of weakness, which is a classic accumulation zone in which we find an accumulation very clean week off. Besides, in which we have the PSY, we have the SC, STB, and potentially the spring, which is being formed. So for the moment, the STB is not very strong. We really swallowed the candle here. I would have liked to have a breakout with a weekly candle close above to really validate it, to be sure that here we are well into the spring. So there is also a possibility that all this, in fact, is the STB. For the moment, we have no bullish reaction. We have a small bullish reaction, but which is rather logical because we have a take of liquidity, which is found here at the level of this lot there. Therefore, which is rather logical taking of equity bullish reacceleration, especially since we currently have a protocol, which is a fork of friend.tech. So obviously we currently has a valuation of AVAX, which is done because we have an increase in AVAX revenues and a strong use. So we are in the process of potentially retesting here the $10. If we ever fail, we will push down and move slowly towards the golden zone. If ever, on the other hand, we break upwards again at this moment. There we will restructure on top and potentially really have here an element of rupture with the potential construction of an accumulation which could be done here and then leave with a break. So there we would have a real signal to tell ourselves that in fact we are in a turnaround. Clearly this is not the case. Yes, we have 2 weeks which are rather positive. We will have to break above, okay? If we really manage to break the 10, at that point, we could say to ourselves that we are in something that would be rather positive, where we could have retracements with a bullish structure. This is not the case, and really the start of the bullish structure, if I had to give you, it would be above the 22. The $22 is really the right signal to say that we are really in a reversal of lagging with a potential retest to start on the rise again. Starting to rise again, then what can we set as a target? So already for me, there is a first price, which is really important, which is this box. The target is $100, 90 minus $100. Clearly, we will have a big sell-off, which will take place during this period because we will have 1x10, which will be done. So we will have a very strong form of TP, which will be taken. And then we have a lot of people who are locked in this area and therefore who will go out, who will reduce their exposure to make money and precisely reduce their exposure. Besides, in terms of target, if we ever have an avalanche that really manages to become a layer 0, to draw on enough projects to have transaction fees and have an ecosystem that grows, we could say to ourselves that we are in a big wave 2. Big wave 3, Elliotist could look for a target of $1.618 to $242, so big prospect of evolution at the end of the bull run with an injection of liquidity, and behind an avalanche, which obviously follows the protocol, must be able to attract developers and users to be able to promote themselves. If this is not the case, it will always result in dilution. We take into account that we are currently still in the process of dilution. It will take time, and when we have reached this dilution, we will be able to say that we will indeed have a valuation of the token. Remember that when we have a downward pressure, which is continuous, at a given moment, it is complicated to be able to have a valuation of the token. That is why we have something which is rather bearish, because currently there is not enough buying power to compensate for the dilution of the token, which is why we are slowly moving towards the golden zone that we have noted for some time. I hope you liked this video. If so, I'm sure that you will love the video that I made yesterday on Atom, the crypto of Cosmos, which would therefore be a real competitor at Avalanche. I'll put the video here, and we'll meet at 7 a.m. for the daily news.